Hi, I thought it might be useful to share a resource that I created for my students. I had realized that they were not necessarily going to have access to a book at home. Either they have already read all the books they have access to at home, or they just don't have any books at home to read. So I created a resource and spent some time researching what the options are for these students, and thought maybe it'd be useful for other teachers in case you want to make a copy and rework a little bit of it to fit your needs. So obviously, I've told them if they have a book and they want to read for the first time or read it again, that's great. But if not, here are the other resources that they could access. So Epic is a program that my board has access to, and they have a class code. So they put the link and it takes them to a place where they put the class code in, and then have access to reading material online. So that is one option. The public libraries are offering resources. Specifically, the St. Catharines Public Library is offering a free 90-day online library card for students. So if they send an email in with their information, they will get basically a login to access the digital collection from the St. Catharines Public Library. And the two programs that are useful to them are Hoopla and Teen Book Cloud for my grade 7 students. Another option is I reached out on Twitter and tried to find out which authors were reading their books online. So a couple Canadian authors either responded or people suggested them. And then I also found a link to the CBC put out a big list, but they also put out lists that may not include authors that my grade 7s would read because they're for younger students. So that might be more useful if you're rebuilding this to take a look and see what other authors are sharing their stories. So Kenneth Opel, famous for Silverwing, he is reading many of his different books, even his new one. I really like Kenneth Opel's writing, so that's a good option. David A. Robertson is reading The Barren Grounds, which is a book of his. Susan Nielsen has No Fixed Address that she's been reading. Joel A. Sutherland, famous for Haunted Canada, the Haunted Canada series, is reading. I don't think he's reading necessarily his books, but he's reading stories from parts of Canada, like ghost story parts of Canada, and ghost stories for parts of different parts of Canada. And so that could be interesting if they like the Haunted Canada series. And then there are many other authors that reached out that I couldn't all fit on the list, but provide reading of their books online. LeVar Burton, famously known for Reading Rainbow, is reading on Twitter live stream on Mondays at noon and Wednesdays for young adults at 6 p.m. And he announces what books he's reading and things like that from his Twitter page. So that's an option to listen to someone else read. Audible Stories. So Audible is offering a free trial or free access to their Audible Stories. When I went in, notable books that could be read, if I'm not mistaken, are some of Jack London's books. So Call of the Wild, White Fang, those are available. I think Winnie the Pooh for maybe some younger students, and I think Harry Potter might be in there. So there's a couple good ones in there as well. And then podcasts. I really like listening to podcasts. So I threw in a link from Common Sense Media for the top 25 podcasts for kids. Now, specifically to my school, my teacher librarian, who's been awesome and will be helping assist any of my students with access to the St. Catharines Public Library, is also doing a book club. So I've created a link for students to access that. It's on Google Classroom, so there's a class code they need to put in. And then if there's any additional help, our Harriet Tubman Public School, where I work, has a Learning Commons website, which has lots of great resources that basically assist students with accessing things like the St. Catharines Public Library. So very fortunate to have Liv Bonesteel being able to support my students. So if they have any questions, they can reach out to her or myself. So if you are looking for resources, here's a kind of summation of what I was able to find. I'm sure there's more out there. If you have suggestions that I missed, that would be really great. Please respond and let me know. And if you have any questions, I'm sure Liz would be happy to answer them if you're from the DSBN, or if you're not, I'm sure she can suggest certain programs, and then I can assist as best I can if she's getting overloaded with requests. But she's the number one person to talk to, and she's very helpful and a great resource for reading for kids during this time. So I hope that resource helped. Like I said, if you're interested, send me a message and I can share this with you, and you can rework it or copy it for your classroom. Thanks.